Good evening. Gold Star family member Stephanie Ouellette, families of the fallen, past National American Legion Commander Paul Marin, distinguished guests, fellow veterans, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Burke Bennett, and I'm the commander of American Legion Post 35, and I want to thank all of you for coming this evening to honor our fallen service members who have given their lives in the global war on terrorism since September 11, 2001. We'll begin with an invocation by Pastor Tim Lewis of the New England Shores Baptist Church. Please bow your head.
Gracious Heavenly Father, September 11th carries a heavy burden in our memories. We witnessed images of death and destruction our eyes were never meant to see, and we'll never understand why the forces of evil seek to destroy our liberty. But we do take great comfort that you are our refuge, our fortress, and in God we trust. But we also remember beauty rising from the ashes. We remember heroism of many losing their lives just to save others. We remember a country standing united against terror. And today, we remember those who answered the call of justice and gave their lives in the global war on terror. We do ask for comfort upon those loved ones who are forever enshrined on this great monument, and for all the Gold Star families. We pledge this day to never forget. May we appreciate this great land, our great state, and all those who have died for it, including your Son. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to ask Cadet Dasha Piotrowski of the Winnicott High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC to lead us in the national anthem. Please stand. Detail, attend, hut. Present, arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, arms. Thank you, Dasha. Please be seated. There are over 1,000 memorials worldwide to commemorate 9/11, the deadliest attack on American soil in our nation's history. These memorials serve not only to preserve the historical memory of that tragic day, but also to honor and remember those who lost their lives. They serve as a bridge between our present generations and the future, to ensure the lessons of that day are not forgotten. Some range from memorial benches for a single victim of the attack, or trees planted in memory of a loved one or a colleague. Some depict small statues of children. One at the Avon, Connecticut Free Library depicts a victim, Amy Toyin, as a 5-year-old girl, holding a book and her teddy bear. In Greenport, Long Island, there is a wire sculpture of an osprey perched upon a 20-foot tall beam of the World Trade Center, signifying rebirth and renewal at the site where the rising sun first touches New York State. There's a memorial near here in Portsmouth, which features an 1,100-pound piece of steel from one of the Twin Towers. Portsmouth was the home of Tom McGinnis, the first officer of American Flight 11, the first aircraft to hit the North Tower. Probably the most famous memorial of all is the 9/11 Memorial, located at the former World Trade Center complex. The memorial features two enormous waterfalls and reflecting pools, each about an acre in size, set within the footprints of the original buildings. The names of almost 3,000 people killed that day are etched into the bronze walls along the reflecting pools. This, along with the companion 9/11 Museum, which is located underground, also within the original World Trade Center site, ensures that the attack and the people lost will never be forgotten. The conflict which was a response to the attacks on 9/11 is known as the Global War on Terror and commenced a little more than a month after the towers fell. Although the conflict is still ongoing, there are almost 130 memorials in all 50 states to recognize those who have lost their lives serving in the United States military since 9/11. Those close to New Hampshire include the Memorial Garden at Boston's Old North Church, which comprises of thousands of blank dog tags, one for each service member killed, that serve as a haunting reminder of the toll the war takes on families and communities. There is a 12-foot-tall Global War on Terrorism monument in New Hampshire Veterans Cemetery in Boscawen that was dedicated in May of 2016. Or the Middlesex Global War on Terrorism Veterans Monument that was dedicated this past June in Pepperell, Mass. However, the Northwood Gratitude and Honor Memorial in Irvine, California is the only monument so far that lists the names of all the U.S. service members who have died in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. This will change because in August of 2017, President Trump signed into law legislation that would allow the erection of a national Global War on Terrorism memorial that will commemorate and honor members of the armed forces who served in support of our nation's longest war, especially those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Our post-35 Global War on Terrorism monument is the first of its kind in the state of New Hampshire, and among the first in the nation when it was dedicated in 2006. Most monuments are erected after the conflict is over. I don't think anybody at the time could have foreseen that this conflict would last into 2 decades. As we speak, this is the longest war in our nation's history. In 2005, aware of the growing list of casualties from the state, Post 35, acting upon the vision of past Commander Ralph Vitello, decided to honor the fallen from this war sooner rather than later. Our monument is not grand in scope, but it is simple and direct. This is our small-town New England way of honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice. The names on this monument represent 77 men from New Hampshire whose lives were cut short. They were part of the 1% of our population that is serving in our all-volunteer military at this time. And like our first responders, these are the 1% that run toward the danger rather than from it. Many went overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan to preserve and defend our way of life here in the United States. They answered the call of duty, and they paid the ultimate price for it. We consider our monument unique. Whereas most monuments only include those who died in action or in support of military operations overseas, our monument also includes, for example, those who died of illness due to military service, those who served bravely in combat only to pass from natural causes, and those who died in training accidents, or those who took their own lives due to service-connected reasons most of us cannot fathom. But we do this because each of these men, sons, brothers, fathers, husbands, lived a life worth remembering. Their service was just as important, They all deserve to be remembered. These individuals stepped forward and answered their country's call. When they joined the military, they represented the cream of the crop of American youth. They were members of that 1%. And having served their country honorably, they deserve to be remembered in death honorably. We offer this monument to honor our New Hampshire heroes. May it serve as a reminder for all of us to remember, to pay tribute, to heal. Your heroes will not be forgotten. Our guest speaker this evening is Gold Star Sister Stephanie Ouellette. She's an advocate for the Gold Star families. She's chaired the committee to bring a Gold Star Families Monument to the New Hampshire Veterans Cemetery. She did this with the help of Medal of Honor recipient Herschel Woody Williams and a group of intrepid families of the fallen, along with individuals who believe that the best way to remember the fallen is to honor their loved one's sacrifice. She currently sits on the board of directors for the New Hampshire Veterans Cemetery and the New Hampshire Freedom's Cup. She spends most of her free time volunteering with veteran and Gold Star organizations, not only in New Hampshire, but also across the country. Her brother, Marine Corporal Michael Ouellette, was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross for his conspicuous gallantry, bold leadership, wise judgment, and complete dedication to duty. The Navy Cross is the highest award presented by the Department of the Navy, and it's the military's second highest award for valor, next to the Medal of Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce to you Gold Star Sister Stephanie Ouellette.
Good evening. As Bert was so kindly introduced to me, I am a Gold Star sister, and it is great to see so many Gold Star families here this evening. As I sat down to write this the last couple of days, I couldn't quite find my spot at first, what angle to approach this at. I could stand up here and talk about Mike and talk about his Navy Cross and all the awards he racked up serving in the military, and that is really actually a very impressive story. But when you think about 9/11 and you think about Gold Star families today and what it means is about more than one family and more than one person. If you're on social media at all, if you've seen the news, you've probably seen either posts or news stories with these tragic statistics about the lives lost on this day 18 years ago. Thousands here, hundreds there, 70 or so here. It's an overwhelming reminder of how fragile everything is. To that, since that day, over 2,000 people, predominantly first responders, have died from 9/11 related illnesses. Almost 7,000 service members have lost their lives on the battlefield, and untold numbers of our loved ones have lost the war with PTSD and completed suicide. We will probably never know the true accounting of the losses that have emanated from this day, but each and every one of those losses has someone just like me, and probably more than a singular someone just like you, grieving them right now. The sum total weight of that, as you can imagine, is unbearable. I will never understand the kind of hate that it takes to want to destroy something that much, but what I can say for sure is that I am lucky enough to know, to understand, and to have been witnessed to the kind of love and selfish courage, and most of all hope, that can come out of something so evil. You see, that's the one thing that none of those terrorists ever accounted for, and they will never understand. It's impossible to escape the horror of 9/11 and all of the terrible things that occurred on that day, but we can shift the emphasis. I myself choose to focus on the acts of courage, the acts of kindness and generosity that occurred on that day and the days after. I choose to remember the acts of compassion and love. I honor the memory of the heroes who, without a second thought, ran towards what everybody else was running away from. Right now, I bet you're guessing or thinking to yourself, all right, how do we do that? How do we find the good or the silver lining in such a dark moment? And kind of in the back of my head, I can hear my mom saying, but you have an answer for everything, don't you, Stephanie? I actually do. Yes, Mom. The way we shift the focus is that we pick up the legacy of service and sacrifice that these heroes left behind, and we carry it forward for them. And this is something that every Gold Star family sitting here in front of you is intimately knowledgeable about. We can do as a country better than a Facebook post once a year. The people that make up those, the people whose names are inscribed on this monument deserve better. And the families sitting here in front of us, their loved ones, and they deserve better. We do this by remembering that those statistics, they're not just numbers or names on a list somewhere abstract. They are people, and they are loved ones. And they are fifth birthday parties and skinned knees and stuffy noses. They had musical tastes that ranged from everything from John Coltrane to Metallica and everything in between. Some were athletes, some were bookworms, some were science geeks like myself. They were junior high school dance dates. They had driving lessons. They were first kisses and last loves. They were the causes of uncontrollable fits of laughter and inconsolable heartbreak. I read somewhere that Dr. Seuss said that sometimes you never quite know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And honestly, Dr. Seuss was a genius, because that's true. You never think about stuffy nose or a cold or a first date being a memory that you're going to want to hold on to for the rest of your life. Remember a few moments ago when he told you that my brother was awarded the Navy Cross? Unbelievably proud of my brother and his service that I am, and everything that is in that Navy Cross citation, which is very impressive. In the end, it's not what's most important to know about my brother. What's most important to know about him is how he lived his life and the silver linings that have come about since his passing. Because of him, there is a group of amazing men who have come home and gone on to lead extraordinary lives, have families, and they choose to, on a very regular basis, honor his legacy as they contribute to society in ways that would make my brother proud. And some days, that's simply raising a glass to honor his fellow brothers and sisters in arms who did not come home. It's created a ripple effect that expands and extends well beyond the shores of New Hampshire. Because of Mike's passion for feeding the homeless, there are kids that have received food through the backpack program at a local food pantry here in New Hampshire, but also one in San Diego. There are homes that were built in his honor that give shelter to those who need it most. There is a transitional house for homeless veterans here in the state that has been beneficiary of several acts of volunteer services by the men who served with my brother, who come to New Hampshire every March 22nd to say thank you to the state that gave them my brother. There was a golf tournament that was held every June in his memory to raise funds to help pay for all of the things that sometimes veterans benefits don't, like heating oil and groceries, gas, home repairs, home renovations, and vehicle repair. All because Mike lived his life. He had a mantra and a saying that he lived by: leave a place better than when you found it. And he did leave this world better than when he came into it. On March 22nd, 2009, there was a knock on my mother's door that reshaped the life I lived. And there are a lot of people sitting here today that received that same knock. And it's what you do after you answer the door that is going to shape the rest of your life. In the last 10 years, in my quest to understand and deal with my grief, I picked up his mantra and I carried it with me. It has carried me to places across this country, across this state, and places far outside of its borders. Every place I went, and each act of service I completed, I carried with me a piece of paper. And that piece of paper, which was added to sadly several times since my brother's passing, had the names of every New Hampshire fallen hero on one side, and on the other, the names of every fallen 3rd Battalion, 8th Marine, 2nd Division hero that we lost. About a year and a half ago, after finishing a project in Alaska, I climbed a mountain called Gold Star Peak. This mountain had just been named for the families of the fallen. I hiked that mountain with 23 Gold Star families. I took that piece of paper with me to the top, and it remains there today, locked in a box with mementos from so many other Gold Star families. Next to the names, I have listed service projects that were done in their memory. The way I see it, I have a lifetime of gratitude to repay. It's this very legacy, it's this very commitment to our service members that we as a society must reaffirm and dedicate ourselves to carrying on. And here's the best part. We have so many Gold Star families here in this state leading the charge. Our state's Gold Star families are the little engines that could and do. Quietly and without much fanfare, they roll up their sleeves and they get to work. They have created foundations and scholarships, and they hold spaghetti dinners and runs and walks and paintball tournaments and motorcycle rides, and they create community service projects, all in a way to give back. Give back in honor of those they loved who are not here. We have numerous veteran service organizations and nonprofits across the state that pitch in and help us carry that legacy of service and sacrifice on. There is no shortage of ways that we as a people can get connected and be of service. Don't be afraid. Get out there. It won't hurt you. Join us. I have a challenge for all of you here tonight who are not Gold Star families. It's more of a call to action, actually. When this ceremony is over and you walk over to take a look at that monument, I want you to say the names out loud. Whisper them if you are not comfortable, because you might not be. It's hard because they're not here anymore. But say them. You don't have to say them all. Say 1, say 3, say 5, but say them. That is how they live on. And if you get a chance, speak to the Gold Star families that are here. Ask them about their loved ones and really listen. Our loved ones' stories end only when we stop telling them. And trust me, most of us, we're not afraid to talk about the people we lost, and we probably have some really funny stories to tell you. The last thing I ask of you is that as you leave tonight, after this ceremony is over, you go back to your communities, tonight, tomorrow night, the next day, and do one small random act of kindness in honor of somebody on this monument. Pick a name, any name that speaks to you. Hold the door, let somebody go in front of you, pay for the coffee of the person behind you, pay the toll for somebody. Any small, simple gesture as a way to honor our loved ones. Honor their service, honor the sacrifice, and honor our Gold Stars families' losses. So before I start sounding like the teacher in the Charlie Brown cartoons, I want to leave you with one last thought. The popular thing to say is never forget. I choose to take a more active approach and say we must always remember. Always remember that 9/11 showed us that evil is real, but it also showed us that it always showed us what an unstoppable force courage and hope are. One day can change the lives of so many. 1 second can send ripples that affect millions. 1 act of cowardice can inspire 1 trillion acts of bravery. And 1 act of service can create a silver lining. Thank you.
Stephanie, that was awesome. Most inspirational. Thank you. Master Gunnery Sergeant Dale F. Rassico, United States Marine Corps, Ware, New Hampshire. Dale joined the Marine Corps in 1969, serving on active duty until 1975. He served with the Marine Corps Reserves from 1975 until he was called to active duty with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force in January of 2003. He had been deployed to Kuwait and Iraq, where he led a 6-member intelligence unit attached to the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, which interrogated Iraqi prisoners of war compiled information, and briefed commanders in the field. After 8 months in Kuwait and Iraq, Dale just wanted to come home and see his wife and 2 daughters. Giddy with excitement, the family headed for the airport in Dale's cherished Marine Corps green truck to pick him up. They wanted to start what his daughter Carrie called the reunion of a lifetime. Despite the brief reunion, Dale and his wife Janet and daughters Carrie and Stacy shared a lot in 3 hours. They hugged and cried and held hands. Dale shared photos, gave them gifts he had picked up from overseas, and told them stories about the war. At about 2:30 a.m., after 3 hours of talking, Dale suggested everybody go to bed since they had the whole weekend to catch up. Janet was getting ready for bed when she heard a thump and saw her husband collapse on the floor. I came running over to him and I knew something serious was going on, she said. He looked at me and said, "I love you all." And that was the last thing he said. Dale Rasico died of a heart attack at the age of 54. Sadly, his active duty was officially to end that week after he reported to his unit's headquarters in Worcester. "He was my best friend in the whole world," said his wife. "I married the kind of man most women dream of marrying. I got to have the real thing." Specialist Matthew R. Woods, United States Army, Lyman, New Hampshire. Matthew was born in 1989 at Littleton Regional Hospital, the youngest son of Michael and Rena Simpson Woods, and brother to Michael B. Woods. He was a graduate of Lisbon Regional School, class of 2007. He participated in varsity soccer, basketball, and baseball teams, winning championships in each sport. His teachers and friends remember him fondly and remember him for his determination and hard work. Matthew loved the outdoors and enjoyed hunting, fishing, hiking, and spending time with family and friends. He grew up hunting and fishing with his dad and brother. His favorite motto was live, love, ice fish. He had dreamed of hiking the Appalachian Trail and planned to do so as soon as he was out of the Army. Matthew was an amazing son. He was loved and respected by many, and his family is so proud of Matthew for serving his country and of his accomplishments. He joined the Army in January of 2009 and attended basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. He then reported to Bravo Troop, 3rd Squadron, 1st U.S. Cavalry, 3rd Heavy Brigade Combat Team, 3rd Infantry Division, Fort Benning, Georgia, in May of 2009. He served his country doing a tour in Iraq from October 2009 to September 2010. Sadly, Matthew died suddenly Sunday, February 19, 2012, at Fort Benning, Georgia, at the age of 22. He received the following medals and awards: the Army Achievement Medal, Meritorious Unit Commendation, National Defense Service Medal, Iraqi Campaign Medal with Campaign Stars, Army Service Ribbon, Driver's and Mechanics Badge, and Expert Rifleman's Badge. Specialist Jonathan M. Mickle, United States Army, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Jonathan was born August 19, 1985 in Portsmouth, the son of the late Warren C. Mickle Jr. and the late Kathleen F. Burke Mickle. Jonathan graduated from Portsmouth High School in 2003 and was a member of the Southern New Hampshire University class of 2013, where he received high honors and was on the Dean's List. He served with Charlie Battery, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Field Artillery Regiment in Iraq. He received the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, Army Service Ribbon, and Overseas Service Ribbon. Jonathan's sister Whitney sent me the following email. "We lost our mother when we were young. I was 11, Jonathan was 14. We also have 2 brothers, but we were all under 18. It seems that when we lost our mother, we lost a lot of our father too, and it was very hard for us. It totally changed our lives, but what kept us most content was sports. Jonathan excelled in every sport he played. We were always at the baseball field, where our father coached his teams all throughout his teenage years. Jonathan and I were always close, being the closest to my age. We did everything together. We didn't have to do anything but be together, and we always had fun. I miss him more and more with each passing second. The military was always the next step for Jonathan, wanting to defend our country. Being a part of the Army was one of Jonathan's greatest accomplishments. He followed our oldest brother's footsteps and joined the Army right after he graduated from high school, and he completed basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I'm grateful for him for being away, because now I have so many letters from him that I can reread and cherish. After that, he was stationed in Germany for a few months before being sent to Iraq. I believe his experiences there are what made things so hard for him once he returned home. When Jonathan returned home, I noticed a few things that were weird to me, but he just shrugged them off. He didn't sleep in a bed, rather he would sleep on the floor. He wasn't the fun-loving person he was before seeing action. He would get angry at little things, but I knew he was still in there. It took a while for things to be back to normal for Jonathan, or as normal as things could be. Jonathan started showing me pictures from his time overseas, and also told me about his buddy who was killed when they drove over an IED. The heartbreak of him sharing this with me is a feeling I don't think I will ever have again, and one I won't forget. I was proud of Jonathan. He seemed to be getting the help he needed, and was going to school for Homeland Security, and was on track to graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Justice Studies. Without warning, my brother decided to take his own life on October 30th, 2012. He would have graduated college, the first in our family, by the way, in May of 2013. The school contacted me, and I took his place and walked on stage to get his diploma. I'll never know the exact reason why my brother decided to end his life that day, but I'll never stop honoring him. Specialist Ryan J. McDermott, United States Army, Hampton, New Hampshire. Ryan was born February 5th, 1987, in Portsmouth, the son of Jeffrey and Donna Carpenter McDermott of Hampton. Ryan was raised in Hampton, where he graduated from Winnicott High School with the class of 2005. He enlisted in the Army in 2010, where he proudly served honorably for the next 3.5 years in Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 227th Aviation Regiment, Fort Hood, Texas. During this time, he bravely served one tour in Afghanistan as a crew chief in H-60 helicopters. Ryan was an avid Patriots and Red Sox fan who enjoyed snowboarding and the outdoors. He was also an accomplished scuba diver and was very proud to serve our country in the Army. Most of all, Ryan loved spending time with his family and friends. He had an uncanny way with words and one-liners that would leave people in tears from laughing. He had a passion for life and wanted to be the best soldier he could be. That's what Ryan strove for. He tackled the service with all he had, being named Soldier of the Cycle in boot camp and graduating first in his class in training. His mom, Donna, knew something was wrong when the doorbell rang at 2:45 in the morning. But the longtime Hampton resident clung to hope, the hope that her son Ryan, a 26-year-old Army specialist, had come home to surprise her. When she opened the door to an Army chaplain, she knew. Ryan died unexpectedly on Saturday, December 21st, 2013 at Fort Hood, Texas. I was devastated, Donna said. This is not supposed to happen. You don't outlive your kids. Sergeant Ryan Patrick Goggin, United States Army, Wolfboro, New Hampshire. Born in Portsmouth, October 26, 1986, the son of Daniel James and Michelle Nyla Levanway, Ryan grew up in Wolfboro and graduated from Kingswood Regional High School. Ryan served his country for over 7 years with the United States Army. He was stationed in Camp Casey in South Korea and deployed from Fort Bliss, Texas to Iraq with the 1st Battalion, 37th Armored Regiment, where Goggins served as a sergeant. In March 2010, he was 10 months into deployment in Iraq when a roadside bomb hit his truck. A traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder effectively ended his military career. After his deployment, he served in Washington, D.C. as a member of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the prestigious Old Guard, where he retired. Ryan was healthy and active until January of 2017. He suddenly became so weak, paramedics rushed him to the Miami VA hospital. From there, he went to the University of Miami Hospital for further testing. The diagnosis was acute lymphoblastic leukemia, a type of blood cancer. His biggest battle occurred not in Iraq, but here, trying to get the Veterans Health Administration to fund his cancer treatment. Adding to the frustration of dealing with a broken system, Ryan learned he had been listed on the Open Burn Pit Registry, a national list of war veterans exposed to dangerous chemicals during certain operations, chemicals that can lead to various illnesses, including cancer. Sadly, Ryan died on March 31st, 2017 at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston at the age of 30 after a courageous fight with leukemia. Corporal Jonathan W. Currier, United States Marine Corps, Hampton, New Hampshire. Jonathan was born June 18, 1997 in Exeter, the son of Christopher and Kathleen Ray Currier of Hampton. Family and friends remember John as a kind friend and a committed serviceman. He was a Winnicott High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC cadet, an Eagle Scout with Hampton Boy Scout Troop 380, and an altar server at Our Lady of Miraculous Medal Parish here in Hampton. He graduated from Winnicott in 2015. He loved sports, growing up playing Hampton Youth Association soccer, baseball, basketball, and flag football. He also was a member of the high school swim team. He had a never-ending love of Lego models, still building them as an adult, often messaging his brother Colin about his most recent Lego purchase. He joined the Marine Corps in 2015 to see the world. John was a crew chief on the CH-53 Echo Super Stallion helicopter. He loved working on and flying in the helicopters. Friends said he was determined to be the best at what he did at any point in his life. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Antonio, former Winnicott High School Marine Corps Junior ROT instructor, said it was impressive that John became a corporal and a crew chief in just 3 years. He loved the Marine Corps, Antonio said. He was a kid that was committed to service and committed to serving his country. John was a member of Marine Medium Tilt Rotor Squadron 166 Reinforced, 13th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force at Camp Pendleton, when he was tragically lost at sea on August 9, 2018, while embarked aboard the USS Essex off the coast of the Philippines. Marine Medium Tilt Rotor Squadron 166 Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Bodwell said, "Corporal Currier was a quiet professional who loved being part of our team and always accomplished the mission at hand." Jonathan attended boot camp in Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, later graduating from the School of Infantry at Camp Lejeune, the Naval Aircrew Candidate School at NAS Pensacola, and the Center for Naval Aviation Training at Marine Corps Air Station New River. Jonathan was later assigned to Marine Heavy Helicopter Squadron 361 at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, California. His awards include the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War and Terrorism Service Medal. At this time, we will unveil the monument, which will be unveiled by Command Sergeant Major John Barvinick, United States Army retired, and Staff Sergeant Matthew Rogers, United States Air Force. Detail, attend, hut. Present, arms.
Colors.
Order, arms. At ease. The names on the monument will be read by Major Fred Rice, United States Army Special Forces, Vietnam, and a bell will be tolled by Petty Officer Joe Cutt, United States Navy, Vietnam. Detail, attend, hut.
These are the names of the service members from New Hampshire who lost their lives while in service to their country. Jesse S. Conger, Specialist United States Army, Barrington. Peter J. Sora, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Londonderry. William J. Tracy, Sergeant, United States Army, Manchester. Andrew D. Stevens, Private First Class, United States Army, Stratham. Peter T. Heukling, Cadet, United States Military Academy, Durham. Robert E. Rooney, Sergeant, United States Army, Nashua. Randy S. Rosenberg, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, Berlin. Jeremiah Holmes, Sergeant, United States Army, Wakefield. Richard L. Ferguson, Master Sergeant, United States Army, Conway. Jeremy F. Regnier, Specialist, United States Army, Littleton. Alan J. Burgess, Specialist, United States Army, Landaff. Adam R. Brooks, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Manchester. Timothy M. Gibson, Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Merrimack. Angelo L. Lozada, Sergeant, United States Army, Nashua. Matthew S. Coutu, Second Lieutenant, United States Army, Northampton. David Gwindon, Technical Sergeant, United States Air Force, Merrimack. Daniel R. Healy, Senior Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy, Exeter. Matthew L. Bertolino, Private First Class, United States Marine Corps, Hempstead. Donald E. Smith, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, Northampton. George R. Roll, Private First Class, United States Army, Manchester. Nicholas R. Cornoyer, Private First Class, United States Army, Gilmanton. Robert S. Mosillo, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Salem. Douglas A. DiCenzo, Captain, United States Army, Plymouth. Daniel Giannett, Sergeant, United States Army, Pelham. Russell M. Durgan, Sergeant, United States Army, Henniker. Matthew E. Schneider, Specialist, United States Army, Gorham. Nicholas A. Arvantes, Corporal, United States Army, Salem. Ryan T. McGaughan, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Manchester. Zachary D. Tellier, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, Manchester. Matthew J. Stanley, Corporal, United States Army, Wolfboro Falls. Toby R. Olson, Specialist, United States Army, Manchester. Justin A. Rollins, Specialist, United States Army, Newport. Jonathan D. Grassbaugh, Captain, United States Army, East Hampstead. Justin R. P. McDaniel, Private First Class, United States Army, Andover. Nathan H. Hardy, Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy, Durham. David S. Stelmott, Specialist, United States Army, Littleton. Scott G. Diamond, Corporal, United States Army, Franklin. Brian Mescal, Major, United States Army, Exeter. Chipper Rogers, Private, United States Army, Keene. Michael W. Willett, Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Manchester. Adam M. Kulagowski, Specialist, United States Army, Derry. Edmund Lowe, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, Salem. Michael C. Roy, Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, Candia. Justin R. Pellerin, Specialist, United States Army, Boscawen. Charles E. Dane, Staff Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, Auburn. Stephen L. Murphy, Staff Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, Jaffrey. Mark Paul Decoto, Specialist, United States Army, Waterville Valley. Eric D. Courier, Private First Class, United States Marine Corps, Londonderry. Kyle R. Warren, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, Manchester. Jared N. Van Alst, Master Sergeant, United States Army, Laconia. Andrew C. Nickel, Sergeant, United States Army, Kensington. Philip G. Chart, Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Goffstown. Michael E. Gary, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Derry. Nicholas P. Bernier, Specialist, United States Army, Kingston. Michael B. Cook, Specialist, United States Army, Salem. James A. Keenan, Specialist, United States Army, Newmarket. James W. Dennehy, Major, United States Army, Salisbury. Demetrius Gavriel, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Atkinson. Christopher A. Journeau, Specialist, United States Army, Stratham. Ryan J. Savard, Sergeant First Class, United States Army, Jefferson. Sean G. Hogan, Captain, United States Army, Salem. Paul M. DeMeo, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army, Derry. David L. Poirier, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, Salem. Brandon J. Garabrandt, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Greenfield. William B. Marston, Special Operator First Class, United States Navy, Concord. Andrew A. Amesbury, Corporal, United States Army, Dover. David J. Witcher, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, Bradford. Derek J. Bilodeau, Specialist, United States Army, Manchester. Seth D. Happanen, Specialist, United States Army, Alton Bay. Sean M. Judge, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force, Kingston. Mark G. Gulesian, Sergeant First Class, United States Army, Londonderry. The following names are individuals who died on active duty or as a result thereof prior to this year. Upon further examination, it was determined that they were eligible, they met the eligibility criteria to have their names added to this wall. These are Dale F. Rassico, Master Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, Weir. Matthew R. Woods, Specialist, United States Army, Lyman. Jonathan M. Mickle, Specialist, United States Army, Portsmouth. Ryan J. McDermott, Specialist, United States Army, Hampton. Ryan P. Goggin, Sergeant, United States Army, Wolfboro. Jonathan W. Courier, Corporal, United States Marine Corps, Hampton. we will never forget.
At this time, a wreath will be placed at the monument by Master Sergeant Mario Real, United States Marine Corps retired. Detail, present, arms. Firing detail. Salute the fallen. Detail, order, arms. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. We want to thank you all for coming and honoring these heroes on this sacred day. We'd like to personally thank Stephanie Ouellette, Pastor Tim Lewis, Mark Weatherby, Master Sergeant Real, Cadet Dasha Pietrowski, the Winnicott High School Marine Corps JROTC, John Barvnick, Matt Rogers, Fred Rice, Joe Cutt, Boy Scout Troop 177. I'd like to thank the Hampton Police and Fire Departments not only for their honor guards, but also for their tremendous assistance. Thank you to the Seacoast Marine Corps League Firing Detail. I'd also like to thank our state reps, local selectmen, and other town officials. Thank you to Post 35 Past Commander Ralph Vitello for designing the programs and the banner inside. As commander of the post, I'd like to say a very special thank you to all our veteran volunteers of Post 35 under the leadership of John Barvnick, who spent countless hours of preparation to make this ceremony happen this evening. I'd also like to put out a reminder about the 2019 Run for the Fallen, which will take place at Odiorn State Park in Rye this Sunday, September 15th. It's a 5-mile tribute run/walk to honor those from New Hampshire who have given their lives for our freedom since 9/11. Runner registration begins at 7 a.m., opening ceremonies at 8:30, and it's not a race, and best of all, it's free. Many of our families of the fallen will be there along the course with posters of pictures of their loved ones. It's a wonderful opportunity to thank the family for their loved one's sacrifice. And if you get a chance, I encourage you to go on the website, runforthefallenNH.com, and take a look. Not only can you register for the run, but it's a wonderful place to view the Wall of Valor, which has stories of each and every service member that's honored. Thank you once again for coming. It matters less how they died. It's more important how they lived. You're all invited inside for refreshments. Thank you.